an OG and title victor and rookie, and now they're moving into the quarterfinals. So win or lose here, I may need to pat themselves on the back because they've made one hell of a ride.
They certainly have. Snake on the other side, they've been in the LPL for a couple seasons now, but still doesn't really feel like they're the LPL team yet. Everyone just kind of thinks they're still from the LSPL.
Exactly. It's time for Snake to finally get out of their 4th place curse. They have never won over 4th or 5th in the LPL playoffs. So Snake, it's nut up or shut up. It's time to grow up and prove that you are an LPL team today.
Well, let's see if they can do just that, because we have head into Champions League for game number 1 between Snake eSports as well as IMA, and the bands have already come flying through here, as Shen will be the first band that comes out from Snake. Twisted Fate and Elise follow through. Lysandra and Rek'Sai are the first 2 bands that come out from IMA.
Reminder, it is 6.15, so we will have the lane swap changes, so a lot of pressure on making sure that you get the superior 1v1 and 2v2 matchups just because of that tower fortification at 5 minutes. Big thing that we've seen so far in the LPL, 0 lane swaps and a lot of hard CC being taken.
We see the final band coming out from IMA is going to be Nidalee, a champion that has been changed quite significantly. In 6.15, we saw Swift pick it up a couple of times yesterday. But on the side of Snake, they lock in Gragas as their first pick of choice, and that should be going on over towards SOFM. That does leave the Gangplank and Vladimir left open for IMA.
And I really like the priority of Gragas. So again, it makes sense there's going to be 2 jungle bans against SOFM, especially that Nidalee, a champion that he's going to be very familiar with because he is an aggressive jungler. But by taking Gragas, you automatically break any sort of mid lane freeze that Baimi and Athena can set up, and it doesn't matter which one is subbed in. You know they're going to be a wave control player. In this particular instance, it's probably going to be that Vladimir. But again, Gragas approaches a tower, throws at his cast, is able to scoop that guy off and break down that tower relatively early.
Let's see if SOFM can impact the mid lane in that manner. But they've actually locked in Graves here, so it's a potential to see the flex pick of Gragas up into the top lane for Flandre. They do have a lock-in Jhin as their AD carry.
Now, Flandre has been known to play Gragas up in the top lane, but let's also pump the brakes on this and say that it's Flandre. It could also be a Graves top.
He has played the Gragas 4 times this year up in the top lane. SOFM has been playing the Gragas quite a lot in the jungle as well, but has played a similar amount of games on Graves. But we'll check in with that later on in the match to see where they take these 2 picks to.
The other pick that I really want to highlight for Snake is the Jhin being picked up. So Snake, the last time we saw them, were actually starting to run a poke composition. They picked up the Xerath and the Jhin, and pretty much it was a Venn diagram of murder, and Snake shoved Saint out. They couldn't get anywhere near them. There was actually a team fight where Saint did 0 damage to Snake because of such long-range ultimates.
And that was where they picked up Xerath in the mid lane, I believe, for tank. The interesting pick to go up against the Malzahar did fairly well, or I should say incredibly well for Snake. However, on the side of IMA, they've locked in Trundle as well as Siva as their next 2 picks.
So Road was looking at his signature Bard pick. I like the fact that he decides to go for the Trundle. The idea is still the same. It's a counter to Jhin. Trundle is really fortunate in that he has the longest range displacement ability outside of Gragas' cast on a much lower cooldown. That would be his pillar. And so Jhin goes up into his ultimate, the curtain call. Trundle walks by and just ruins his day by throwing up a pillar.
Let's see if Rogue can ruin their day here, because Snake still have 2 final picks. You can see their coach moving back and forth between players, kind of talking this one out to see what the last 2 lock-ins are going to be. They're looking for a support and they're looking for a mid laner. They already know that it's either going to be a Gangplank or a Vladimir in the mid lane. If we look at history for IMA, it's normally the Gangplank up at the top side of the map. They have flexed the Vladimir up into the top lane, but never the Gangplank into the mid lane. So they should know it's going to be that Vlad, and it seems like they're going to be settling in for Cassiopeia for tank, and they're picking up Taric for JZ.
Okay, Taric has been played globally, primarily in Korea. He does not have a great success rate or a track record in the LPL. In fact, he's pretty much been botched by every single team that picks him up, which is so bizarre because LPL teams historically have been very good at diving towers, and Taric is excellent at being proactive, making those dives due to the cooldown window on setting up his ultimate and going for that invulnerability. Unfortunately, I feel like Snake have a very reactive composition. Against the likes of Cassiopeia, if you try to dive back onto them, they have a lot of threat. And Taric, again, he needs that setup time before he makes everyone invulnerable, so I feel like it's actually kind of a missed opportunity on this support pickup.
They do pick it up. JZ has played it twice before, and I'm no strangers to the champion. Road did pick it up in one of their games during the summer split of the LPL. That does mean that I may have saved their final pick for a jungle pick, which makes sense here for a Voidless. He's up against SOFM. You kind of would like to hide your hand a little bit.
And no surprises that a Voidless is looking towards that Hecarim. This is such a staple composition from IMA. They love speed, they love mobility, they love unlocking themselves from the lanes, and they love semi-global ultimates. So you've got the Gangplank in the top lane that's going to be able to assist everywhere on the map with that cannon barrage. You have a Voidless on a Hecarim, something practiced, tried, and true by this guy. And then you have the Sivir for the quick mobility.
And you see how much Snake really respect that the semi-global ultimates that IMA have. They banned out 2 of them, Shen and Twist of Fate, taken away immediately. They did not want IMA to have their hands on those champions.
On the other side, though, Snake, this composition has a lot of anti-dive potential on it. You know, trying to get into that threat range of Jhin, Cassiopeia, if Tank is standing next to him, should keep Martin safe. But unfortunately, they don't have a ton of hard engage options outside of the Jhin ultimate or Gragas catch. And
you were right, Frostgurn. It is actually going to be Flandre that brings Graves up into the top lane. They've juked everyone here because SOM is taking that Gragas into the jungle. This is going to be an interesting match, and once again, Snake have just shook everything up.
And it really highlights how these teams are valuing their draft phase. IMA, this is a tried-and-true composition, semi-global. Snake, SOFM as our carry. Let's use a flex pick and make sure that he gets the matchup that he wants.
Well, let's see how these two giants clash as we head into Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between Snake eSports and IMA. We are on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between Snake eSports and IMA. Already right off the bat though, Frosker, and things have really been changed here. And once again, Snake have gone into a game where they've just completely changed the way they want to play League of Legends.
And that's the thing, you know, the last time that we saw Snake during the regular split, they were playing a game that meant nothing for the standings. They showed quite a few different compositions, including a 5v5 composition, as well as a really cool poke composition, which aren't normally run in the LPL with that Jhin Xerath combo. So effectively, we have no idea what the current form of Snake is and what other picks they might be hiding up their sleeves, and this time around it's that flex pick of the Gragas versus Graves.
It certainly is. Snake, though, are going to be moving straight in towards IMA's blue side of the jungle to get a ward down on towards the Grom camp. As we take a look at the Keystone Masteries here, one thing that really stands out to me is Thunderlords on Taric. Interesting.
We haven't seen enough Taric in the LPL to really consider what's going to be standard for those pickup there. Typically, it's going to go with the burst damage. Indicative is the fact that Jhin took the Deathfire Touch, which tells me that he wants to go for the 2v2. Again, 6.15. You should have elongated lanes, and we shouldn't be looking towards any sort of lane swap or unlocking until past tower fortification at 5 minutes.
Jhin Zhao is in so much trouble. He's going to get taken down incredibly low. There's that Thunderlord's proc, immediately exhausted there by Martin. He flashed over the wall, gets first blood with the crit shot. Jhin Zhao already used his heal during that engage. A very early kill for Snake's bottom lane.
And this is something very similar to what Splice were actually running in Europe with the Scion support in Jhin, but hold on.
Meanwhile, they're still looking for a fight up on the top side of the map, but Voidless has already hit level 2 off of taking the Raptor camp, so SFM is in trouble. Has to smite the red buff to try and get a little bit of health back, now trying to go toe-to-toe. Flandre has to try and dash away. Here comes Bamey, he's ghosting up here. SOFM, he goes big, picks up a return kill for himself, but just has to try and run away from the Vladimir and the Gangplank. The parlay comes out, the transfusion will come in for Bamey, and it's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of IMA.
But the big thing is going to be the teleport cooldown now burned by Flandre, so TP advantage at least for Amazing J. We're going to see if he uses it bot lane. Shouldn't, because he's the Gangplank, so it really should just catch him back up in his own lane, as well as SOFM being the primary benefactor of picking up a kill there, so has an item lead, whereas a Voidless only got an assist.
And unfortunately, it seems like with all the early game chaos going on there, Frostcurrent, we have a couple of technical difficulties to start things off. But my goodness, bottom lane already really aggressive. Snake get a very clean kill on towards Jhin Zhao on the bottom lane. But when Snake did go for that aggressive jungle invade with Gragas body slamming on the wall and the quick draw coming out from Graves, they were immediately spotted out by a ward that was previously placed down by Aimee.
And this is something that's actually really risky. So on 6.15, Papa Smithy on the LCK brought up a really interesting idea that there's no lane swap. So there's no reason in level 1 to place out those lane swap wards to look for the deep invade. So it should just be a defensive fan, which means that you know where the wards are going to be. You saw kind of the cheeky over-the-wall scenario that they were trying to formulate there, but it's just like Snake trying to come out 6.15, have a really cheesy level 1, you know, standing in the bush, making sure that they can find the first blood down there with Taric and Jhin, then trying to make a really bizarre route pattern around suspected wards. It's just a little bit curious.
It certainly was, but week in and week out, Frostgrin, I just can't believe that SFM just gets even more aggressive and tries to invade even deeper than he already has before. Normally, he, takes a couple of camps, then moves into the enemy jungle and tries to take camps there. This time around, he wants to take it right off the bat. It did go a little bit south, though, for Snake, because Aimee picked up 2 kills during that fight.
Well, they also thought that they had the superior 2v2, even if it came to an all-out brawl. Unfortunately, Vladimir also got an initial rotation, and they started tanking the red buff. But again, the fact that it's Graves, Gragas versus GP and Hecarim, it takes a lot of setup time for GP. He's really reliant on his cooldowns level 1. He's not in a great position, especially compared to Graves. So I understand the mentality of trying to go super aggressive, of trying to make that really over-eager play.
Incredibly smart coming out from Aimee, though. They took the double jungle onto the Raptor camp, took that down really quick, got level 2 for the Hecarim, most importantly, and then went for that level 1 fight against a very weak SOFM and a very weak Flandre.
But quickly touching back on the Taric versus Jhin lane. So what this reminds me of is Splice in Europe actually ran a Sion support with a Jhin in a very similar fashion where effectively you stand in the bush. And what Sion does is he charges his knock-up, and then you just kill them pretty much with the Ignite and the 4 bullets from Jhin. And it's literally the same thing, just with a Taric stun.
Well, Jay-Z and Martin have already been able to pick up first blood in the bottom lane and see if they can continue their dominance down there later on in this match. For now, SOFM does revive and head straight back into his jungle. Picked up double jungling items for himself. As Road taking a lot of damage in the bottom lane, Martin still has a lot of bullets available, but the pillar will separate him from his death.
So all eyes should be on SOFM since he does have the item advantage in that jungle, and he is going to be the primary carry and facilitator for Snake. I mean, coaches and players alike have said of SOFM, he's a selfish player. He puts himself first. As long as he gets ahead, then he can start moving around the map. But because he's so good at that, he's still an asset that is widely sought after for professional teams.
And that was pretty much summed up during his documentary. The biggest criticism and the biggest praise coming out from his coach was exactly that. We also see Avoilus was able to pick up a nice item for himself, heading straight back to base after the initial engage was the Hunter's Potion, so it'll be nice and healthy on Hecarim, especially since Hecarim's early clear did get touched slightly in the 6.15.
Yeah.
And still, Martin and Jay-Z trying to be as aggressive as possible in this bottom lane. Don't have a massive advantage for themselves just yet, as SFM will fight Avoilus inside of his jungle, and already, despite First Blood, or despite the level 1 trade that went in favor of Aimee, he is being incredibly aggressive in towards Avoilus' jungle.
And we're going to have a contest over Krug simply because Flandre also has the shove-in on Amazing J here. Again, trying to expose this 2v2. Meanwhile, bottom.
They're trying to fight. Martin's being jumped on by Road, has been exhausted. Jin Zhao's just jumping on forward. Will try to take down Road. Road will eventually fall, but only dies to the Taric. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the bottom lane.
And in the end, it is advantageous for Aimee simply because Jin Zhao's left standing, so he's able to pick up that experience. Although bad news bears because Road was the benefactor of the kill. Wanted to point out just small intricacies there. Brilliant play by Martin to hold on to his crit until after the exhaust had worn off and set himself up for the crit W to make sure that he had a 1-for-1 trade on that Trundle.
Unfortunately for Martin as well, it was Road that picked up the kill as well as JC. So just the supports picking up a little bit of gold will give Jin Zhao a bit more breathing room to farm up in the bottom lane as well. We saw on the top side of the map, Flandre being really aggressive on this grave, was able to force Amazing J back to base and has used his teleport to get back to lane. So teleport will be back up and available for Flandre first in the top side of the map.
And expect to continue to see these junglers clash, especially SOFM being the aggressor and that carnivore jungle invading Avoidless at every chance he get. And it seems to be the top side is where the push is going.
And Flandre has made his way back up to the top side of the map, picked up a couple of long swords for himself. It's Amazing J. Got a Sheen, kind of missed his barrel chain there, but does get the second one down to get some damage on towards Flandre.
It's funny, we've seen a lot of different Gangplank players coming back into the LPL. Mouse in particular sticks out. He goes to Q his barrel, misses, hits a creep. It's just... Kind of hurts.
It's a little bit of a disaster up on the top side of the map. You can still see SFM being rather aggressive in towards Avoidance jungle. Tank trying to zone out Bamey wherever he can in this mid lane.
And you have to think, ooh, that's unluck.
That was an aggressive play coming out from Tank, trying to catch out Bamey as he faces towards the Cassiopeia. Still gets some decent damage down and is still trying to zone Bamey away from this minion wave.
It's fine for Cassie to burn her cooldowns right there because her primary thing is just trying to lock down Bamey, like you said, underneath his tower to open up space for SOFM to continue to contest Krugs. That's pretty much his favorite camp. You're going to see him there all game long, and it just opens up opportunities and plays for Snake around. Likewise, Tank, again, he's fine to burn that ultimate just aggressively. Think of it like the Victor walking forward, dropping the Chaos Storm, because she wants to go back and get that tier, start it stacking.
And has already picked up the tier as well as the Lost Chapter, so we'll have little to no amount of problems left for this Cassiopeia, especially once SFM is able to get blue buff over towards his way. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Martin taking a lot of damage coming out from Ronan Jin Jiao. The bite will slow him down slightly, but here comes JZ. Good spell shield does block the stun coming out from the Taric. All in all, it's just a small trade going in favor of Aimee.
Yeah, trade's still very dangerous, though. Anytime you have an elongated trade against a Jin, and he goes through all 4 cycles of his bullets, typically he does win out on it. I want to quickly touch on the itemization. So this actually is a matchup that we haven't seen a lot of, the Vladimir versus Cassiopeia in the LPL. Typically, when you see the Vladimir, it's either Malzahar or it's Victor, just because they're able to compete with his wave clear, or at least safely wave clear as Vladimir kind of pushes them in. The thing about Cassiopeia is because she itemizes so early into Morello's, that she actually has a really good item bridge against the Vladimir. So I like to see the mix-up there.
Let's see how this one pans out for Tank, because if I'm not mistaken, he has not played Cassiopeia this split. No, he has not. Hasn't even played it this year. Snake have not run it in the mid lane at all.
We hardly ever see Cassiopeia in the LPL, and again, it's that playoff surprise. You know, give them the Vladimir. We have the Cassie. We know she's going to itemize into Morello's, so we feel very confident going into this matchup.
Even Vladimir's a champion we see less of lately. I believe during one of the matches we had last night, just fell through champion select the entire time.
Of course, 6.15, he has been touched on his W quite a bit. I believe the cooldowns.
Yep, his cooldown on a W is up by 2 seconds at all ranks, and his movement speed is slightly lower.
Hey, look, Krugs.
Look who's there. It's SOFM.
This is dangerous, though. So they have an option where they can look to dive Amazing J, and now that he doesn't have the cannon barrage, he needs to ward here because he knows how much trouble he's in, which is why he's immediately calling a Voidless. Unfortunately, the windows just aren't quite right for Snake, whereas the wave wasn't crashing initially, but this is continuing to be a pressure point between SOFM and Flandre.
And they spot out a random SOFM who moves straight towards the red buffer. Meanwhile, Jinjal gets another good spell shoot down on towards the Taric stun. Historically, Sivir has always been a great AD carry to go up against a Taric.
Hold on, though.
They're still fighting. SFM trying to contest for this red buff once again. Uses the ultimate to try and knock back a Voidless. Does get the smite down. So guess what he came for successfully, and is still dominating a Voidless's red side of the jungle.
So right now, Snake are all in on the top side of the map, whereas because they know where SOFM is, Jin, Zhao, and Road are going to continue to try to punish Snake on the bottom side of the map, now getting decent chip damage on this bot outer.
And the bottom turrets no longer have fortification as well, so they're going to take a lot of damage, especially since we are 9 minutes into the game. Tank still trading back and forth against Bamey in this mid lane, but still no clear advantage for either team just yet.
Well, the issue is that the longer that these trades last, the fact is that Vladimir's just going to win, simply because he doesn't have a resource pool to deal with. Likewise, he's just going to sustain himself up through the lane. And
you talked about how Cassiopeia has a good item bridge going into Vladimir. Vladimir also can pick up the Spirit Visage very early on into that AP matchup. Avoidless, though, he is looking for a gank in towards the bottom lane, but decides not to pull the trigger against Martin and JC.
I actually really like this decision from Aimee, simply because they don't have the cannon barrage available to them. They don't have eyes on SOFM, and I think they want to know 100%, not only are we bringing the Hecarim into this gank, but we're also bringing the Gangplank. Just because they have the TP discrepancy doesn't really mean anything because it's a Gangplank. He needs time to get down there, set up his barrels, so a TP cross-map gank isn't beneficial.
Martin and JC also have the buy advantage at the moment. Jin Zhao was looking to push down that turret, got a lot of damage onto the bottom lane outer turret, so Martin and JC have to be careful from here on out and see if they can keep that turret as healthy as possible for the next few minutes into this game. There's still been a stalemate between these two teams. No real advantage forming anywhere on the map. Top side of the map, we do have like a CS lead for Flandre, but he is playing Graves, champion you would expect to do fairly well into a melee matchup.
And really, the matchup has been fairly well neutralized. Amazing J doing a good job with his Cannon Barrage cooldown to keep him safe. But hold on, Tank could be in some trouble. There's some noise behind him. No, he's covered.
He does have SOFM as well as Martin just behind him, and he's free to push up this lane as he pleases. Still just throwing out Twin Fangs every single time Vladimir gets closer and closer to him. Incredibly short cooldown on the Twin Fangs since the mid-season Magic updates.
They are getting very aggressive, setting up some triangle vision over Aime's blue side jungle. Again, the threat of the cask to sweep Vladimir off of a tower. But I feel like it's a very aggressive move considering that Amazing J still has that Cannon Barrage available. Even this gank bottom that SOFM is looking at, you're still dealing with a 4v5 discrepancy. Flandre cannot join the fight at all. They're pulling Tank.
He's been able to get a lot of vision. There goes the cast. Knocks Jinjiao back into his team. Road almost cuts himself off from his escape path, but they do burn a couple of summon spells.
Going to continue to aggress this using SOFM.
Here comes the Curtical, looking to try and slow down Road and Jinjiao. Jay-Z's down here as well, does get the stun down. Thunderlords will come up, but Martin gets the crit shot. Cannon Barrage comes out to try and stop the dive, but still Snake get the pick of the bottom lane.
And communication just not there for Aime. The Cannon Barrage coming way too late. Road eating all of those bullets.
Now it's going to be a Voidless and Jinjiao trying to save this bottom lane outer turret from Jay-Z, Martin, as well as SFM. Successfully stops any push attempt from Snake's bottom lane trio. It's
fine, because at least they reset the wave and it's not allowed to be held by Jinjiao and a Voidless. So they pick up a free kill, some nice pocket gold. It's just a Cloud Dragon, so they can't really rotate there. There's not a lot of need to rotate into it because it's not the greatest dragon start. Although Cloud Dragon was buffed.
It also has allowed them to pick up a slight gold lead for themselves against Aime. We check in with the mid lane. Once again, Tank is having no trouble spamming his spells over and over again. Every time he levels up, the Lost Chapter gives him a lot of replenished mana and just goes back into overdrive against Baimi. But, like you mentioned earlier, it's Vladimir. He's just going to sustain nice and easy and farm up these waves as well against the Cassiopeia.
But it's pretty much the sustain itemization of Cassiopeia by keeping her mana bar topped off versus the sustain kit of Vladimir that are competing. But the first tower will fall for Aime. This is actually very important because we have that first tower, first blood gold advantage.
You can see Jinjiao picking up 650 gold for himself right off the bat there.
Which now completely compensates for the free kill that Snake just picked up in the bottom side on Trundle.
And even more because Aime immediately take the gold lead over Snake. Still a very small lead to say, to take a look at the moment. So Snake should still be feeling fairly comfortable for now.
I think they're just going to immediately answer it by trying to pick up this tower. Again, pulling SOFM into the lane to at least siege the tower or at very least reset the wave.
See Road trying to use the pillar there just to slow down the minions before they crash on towards the turret, buying some time for Sivir to get back into this lane.
Cannon Barrage will be up in a second, and here comes a Voidless.
He's looking to try and help out his team. Wards were placed down, so Snake do spot out Aime's jungler coming in for this.
Snake could try to force this, especially because Jin has his ultimate back up and Flandre has TP. Here comes Vlad.
Yep, you take a look at the minimap. You can see Vladimir has been trying to sneak around into the bottom lane, put down a couple of pink wards just to try and deny vision away from Snake while he was approaching. But they do ping him out, and now Snake looking for the gank. They jump on top of Road. He's been stunned up and knocked back into the team. Subjugate comes out. He flashes over the wall, but into a Curtical. He's going to have to try and dodge this one now. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, Tank's being jumped on. That's a flash forward coming out from Baimi. Doesn't get anything out of it. Somewhere across the map, though, it is Martin that picks up the kill on towards the bottom lane support of Aime.
And Road, again, overextends, doesn't respect Snake, hiding around Fog of War, abusing the vision, having a pink ward in that brush. And it's very curious because Aime normally are very good at playing around vision. Again, Road is kind of their superstar player.
And that also means Snake will be able to trade the bottom lane tower eventually. They don't get the first structure gold, but they still will get a structure for themselves. And that will pull the goal lead back to even between these two teams.
But this play is massive in general, not just because they picked up the kill and that transitioned into the tower, but the counterplay was in mid and it used two key ultimates, the Onslaught of Shadow as well as the Cannon Barrage, and it didn't get anything. So Tank absorbing a lot of resources and just neutralizing there.
And all he had to do was use the Petrifying Gaze as well as the Flash to get away from the 2.5-man gank coming out from Aime. He's still be doing a good job of shoving in this Vladimir. In fact, he's picked up a nice 25 CS lead for himself very early on into this game.
quickly taking a look in on our initial backs, though, because we've completed our items, or at least our first item across the board. So you have the penetration build coming out of Martin. That's fairly standard for Jins these days, although more AD carries are starting to rotate back in towards that eye edge rush. And there's the Morello completed on the Cassiopeia. So that makes the 5v5 of Snake very strong, at least in shutting down that Vladimir.
And speaking of the Infinity Edge rush, we're not going to see Jin Zhao pick it up on Sivir. We've seen a lot more Sivers go back into the Essence Reaver. There was a stint where I believe Uzi made that Infinity Edge a little bit more popular on Sivers in the bottom lane.
I think this also just kind of speaks to Jin Zhao's responsibility and role in IMA. He's more of kind of that utility AD carry, so prioritizing the CDR rather than just the flat battle stat that the Infinity Edge is going to bring you. Likewise, his back timers in this lane have been really unfortunate due to how much attention SOFM has put on it. So not having those big windows to go back, get that BF sword, look for that pickaxe, and instead looking for smaller components.
You see a Voidless looking to try and see if he can wrap around against Tank. SOFM is in the mid lane though, so has to be careful. Jump straight on top of a Voidless, get some good damage down with the Runic Echoes he picked up previously. Still chasing a little bit aggressively forward, but Road is there to back up their jungler. At the same time, we just saw IMA take down a Cloud Dragon.
But the big thing is the fact that Martin has been unlocked. Like an Ashe, can open up that curtain call and start the siege, and here we go. They
look at the siege, the mid lane outer turret. Flandre, I mean, Amazing J's been locked down on the top side of the map. You see Flandre's been pushing him in nice and aggressively on this Graves and chipping away at this turret as well.
And Snake have two options here. They can either be patient and continue to siege and threaten with Gragas and Jin on the mid-tier tower, or they can try to flank behind Amazing J and a Voidless and make a fight in this river.
Oh, here comes a Voidless using the Ghost, trying to chase after Flandre. Pops the Yomu's Ghost Blade, getting a little bit of distance. Now it's a Voidless who has to try and run away. Has no flash, has no Ghost. Will get locked down, and Martin picks up a kill.
Baited and outsmarted by Flandre. Welcome back. It was a little bit of a slump there for the top laner of Snake. Came in very hot and heavy into the LPL. Kind of teetered off, and now he's returning back into form where he's not so much a liability and more so a star player for this team.
And that's if I'm going to be a little bit sad to check Krugs and find that there's no Krugs left available for him. It will be the bottom lane AD carry that picks it up for his team. Snake, though, is still looking to push down this mid lane out of turret. Cannon Barrage trying to stop this aggression, but they're just going to tank it up and take the turret down.
Effectively, it's just going to delay the inevitable. Again, that's the power and the threat of Gragas. You know Baimi and Athena are going to play those mid-range wave control mages. Gragas is such a threat to them, and Vladimir just can't stand on the tower confidently.
At the same time, we see Flandre return to the top side of the map. He's been constantly using his teleports to defend the top lane outer turret. IMA have finally swapped their AD carry and support to the top lane as well.
And you have to think that that's a massive miss on execution for IMA. They like to play these very global compositions, and the fact that they weren't able to use the Cannon Barrage,
Big fight though. Road going to get locked down again. He's ignited, not going to get caught by the deadly flourish, but here comes the curtain call. He's trying to dodge out the bullets, gets hit by the second and third. The fourth is going to be blocked by Jin Zhao. That will connect to deal a lot of damage. Here goes Flandre diving deep into the back line. JZ pops the invulnerability. The cancel of a teleport will come out from Amazing J because SOFM shows up and the top lane out of turret falls, and Snake get a pick onto the AD carry.
Hold on, it's not over yet.
Trying to chase down Road. The deadly flourish not going to lock him down. SOFM's looking for it. Has the shield, flashes forward, doesn't get him, not going to be able to knock him back. SOFM can't get the pick that Snake were looking for.
He has the cask still, but he's being responsible to his team, communicating with them and holding it because a Voidless is right there. Normally, at the beginning of the split, SOFM would have thrown that cask in a heartbeat to pick up the 1v1 trade on the support. This is the evolution and the difference and why Snake are looking so much more dominant in this game.
He's definitely been adapting to the way his team likes to play, but still has that aggressive playstyle. I mean, we've seen him at Krugs on the enemy jungle more than we have in his own jungle.
He held the cask fish. I'm so proud of him. I was like, he's just going to dump that on Road. A Voidless is going to rock into his backline and kill someone. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, possibly 1-for-2. And he's like, nope. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to do the good thing. I've got the package.
He's growing up, Frosker, and they're too young for this.
And I promised myself I wouldn't cry. No, but you have to think it's a big failure on execution for IMA. The fact that we never saw the Cannon Barrage being used bottom, the fact that the Onslaught of Shadows was never used bottom, that's typically where they find so much of their success, especially with Jin Zhao on a champion like Sivir, who can really empower and Voidless's damage output. But, you know, Flandre able to repeatedly use teleport to just farm up the top lane. IMA, they should be comfortable with this composition, but they just look lost.
So, IMA were the ones that picked up the first turret of the game, but Snake have finally taken out all of the outer turrets on IMA's side of the map. They do have a nice 2,500 gold lead heading into this first match of the best of 5 series. They have also swapped their AD carrying support towards the top side of the map, trying to farm it out against the Jhin, not the Jhin, sorry, the Sivir and the Trundle.
And that would be because we have about a 1 minute 30 seconds until the next dragon, so preparing for that next big 5v5 opportunity.
And it's an Infernal Dragon as well, so both teams would definitely want to try and fight for this major objective.
Which is why it's key to check in on itemization. And quickly looking at Jin Zhao, he's actually going from Essence Reaver directly into a BF Sword. We'll see if he just has the flat AD and then goes towards like a Static Shiv or a Phantom Dancer route, or if he's truly going to go with that Crit Cloak, he's going Essence Reaver into that Infinity Edge. So he's really trying to ramp up for that 5v5 over the Infernal.
We'll have a little bit less attack damage, but more crit. As well as a lot of crit damage once the Infinity Edge amplifies the damage he does. Checking in with the top lane, Flandre actually decided to pick up his Yomi's Ghostblade as his first item, followed by a Phantom Dancer and the Berserker Greaves, sorry. So a very typical Graves build without the jungle item that we normally see when they're played in the jungle. Unless you're SOFM, that should be a Hurricane instead.
Obviously, having a lot more jungle available, or excuse me, a lot more resources available to him because he's not a jungle Graves. He is that top lane Graves and has all of that lane CS.
And so when we saw he picked up the Runic Echoes previously, went straight for a Dead Man's Plate. So lots of initial burst comes out from him.
Still building tankier than we really expect from SOFM. I'm actually surprised that there's not a death cap on Gragas just because of this player's identity and MO. So again,
surprised there's no Tiamat.
SOFM growing up, we talked about this, you know, Snake have forever been 4th, forever 5th. This is their chance. Can they break into top 3? Can they make that race towards the elite of the LPL?
Well, this match is one of the big decisive matches for Snake. We'll put them into the top 4 to start things off, and it's really their chance to try and fight for top 3 from then onwards. But they've got a tough opponent of Aimee, who have had a really good split for Aimee in particular because they just came out of the LPL. Now they are top 6 in the LPL, doing good so far.
No one can deny that what Aimee have already accomplished in the LPL is incredibly impressive. But hold on, Baimi.
They're trying to fight. They lock down the Vladimir, get lots of good damage down. Kurtzakor comes out as well. The invulnerability comes out from Jay-Z. Baimi tries to run away. Petrifying Glaze will be able to lock down a Voidless, but doesn't get the damage he wants to take down Baimi. Still a lot of damage being dealt by Snake to make Aimee back off.
But the damage has been done, and they now have the numbers advantage to turn on a free Infernal Drake, so not what Aimee were looking for. Snake continuing to snowball this game. And
first Dragon did fall to Aimee. That was only a Cloud Dragon. Infernal Dragon falls for Snake, which is a huge pickup 23 minutes into the game, and we see that the next Dragon to spawn is going to be another Cloud Dragon.
So really just unlucky for Aimee, the fact that they had control over the Dragon. The RNG was not in their favor. Bad picks, and it's kind of repeatedly Aimee getting caught out around Fog of War and just having lackluster vision, which normally I call this team the trap team. They really like to play global compositions. They like to unlock themselves from the lane, sit in bushes, wait around corners, and they just look off today. They're definitely on the back foot.
We did mention earlier that Snake really looked like a drag racing car, and they have been going in one direction for Oscar, and it doesn't seem like they're stopping anytime soon.
Yep, but they do manage to catch their wave, so playing defensively, trying to reset their position around the map.
Trying to chase down Flandre as well. He just hops over the wall, gets back to safety. We see both AD carries and supports heading straight back to the top side of the map, trying to stay as far away as possible from this Dragon Pit.
So now that the Dragon Pit has been cleared, it means that we can start moving attention and focus back towards that top side of the map. Yes, it's only 24 minutes, but LPL teams really like to push the envelope on those Barons. So it's about Snake invading Aimee's red jungle, placing down triangle vision, and trying to set up picks so they can rotate into that purple worm.
Previously, when they took down the top lane out of the turret, they were able to push through and get some decent damage onto the top lane in the turret, so that's always a threat with multiple members of Snake on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not even just about, you know, if they get the advantageous pick and being able to rotate into Baron. They do have great shred because they have tank on that Cassiopeia, but even then, their composition is still just amazing at sieging, but here it comes.
Looking for a fight. SOFM tries to go in. Good pillar from Road, cancels his body slam.
Again, great communication. The fact that Martin held onto his curtain call, said that this isn't the perfect pick. We don't need to try to force the slow into the cask. Wait for the next one.
But SOFM is still setting up good vision around the red buff of Aimee's jungle, making sure that they are blind, and Snake have the proactive move to try and take on Aimee in this first match.
Someone will have to attend to that top wave, though, get it pushing.
Road in a little bit of trouble. He's going to be forced to flash over the Raptor wall here. So summon dispel down for one of Aimee's members.
Some clever vision happening, though. Although I think SOFM, he had the oracles, and
Yep.
Jay-Z wanted to clear that. He's like, it's fine, I'll use my sweeper.
They've also spotted out another ward that's placed on the side brush of the mid lane. Tank and Martin take turns to clear that one out, and they're still maintaining good vision control over the red buff side of this map. Lots of wards being cleared up by Snake.
Just being very patient, but there is that really crafty ward that sees them on the red buff. So IMA still trying to take their chances with this. Again, if they can get someone in a choke point, lay down a nice cannon barrage into the Hemoplague and get a nice onslaught of shadows, they have plenty of wombo combo potential.
But we do see red buff getting stolen away by SOFM, so that seems like the main objective they were looking for. He heads straight up towards the Krugs and takes that one down for himself too. Snake just take some good vision control over the red buff, run IMA around the map for a little bit, take their jungle, and head straight back into their lanes.
It's just slight chip damage at this point. Also, eyes have to be on this 4-1 and 2 Jhin in Martin's hands. He actually itemized defensively relatively early, going into the Ghost Blade and then directly into a Maw. So looking at his next big break point for items.
There's a Serrated Dirk, so that could possibly be for the final Serrated Dirk item, which is the Dust Blade of Draxthar, but he has not picked up his BR Sword. Instead goes for a pickaxe, so we might see a very early Last Whisper coming out from Martin. It's going to be Amazing J that's sent down to the bottom lane. So the top laners are farming up the bottom side of the map, the most open lane at the moment for both these teams. Martin will pick up his red buff.
Eventually. He got it.
And we do see Jinja actually picking up that Infinity Edge nice and early to go with the Essence Reaver he had previously.
Again, will improve the 5v5 tenfold for Sivir there. Now just kind of waiting on 1 to 2 items for that big break point where she starts to become that hyper carry in the late game.
And still it's relatively quiet between Snake and IMA. Snake currently 3,000 gold ahead with Dragon spawning in 1 minute and 45 seconds. It's another Cloud Dragon. It's nothing that we would see these two teams heavily contest over.
Which means that it can be used as a pressure point, although hold on, SOFM's behind the mid lane.
Yeah, Jinja and Baimi are going to have to be incredibly careful. They both have their ultimates as well as their summoner spells, and they just walk away from the oncoming jungler. But they've caught out Road. He doesn't have his flash to get away from this. He's delivered back into the team. The stun comes out from Taric to lock him down. Baimi, though, getting lots of damage down. The invulnerability will come out from Taric to keep Snake alive for now. Kurtakol's being popped, looking to chase them down. Just slows down Amazing J to start things off. But Snake get the pick they were looking for, and they get good damage on towards the gangplank.
And Road continuously being the sore spot for IMA. Disaster. I feel like either that guy goes 0-0-20 or he goes 1-9.
He's trying to go toe-to-toe against a Voiles. Gets a solo kill. Now he wants Jin Jiao. Almost takes him down. Forces the Sivir to flash over the wall. And this entire time, Snake were taking down Baron.
And that's the Flandre that we really expect and that Snake have needed earlier in the split. The ability to draw that many resources, 3 members of IMA, and allow Snake to take the Baron uncontested is massive.
And he almost went toe-to-toe with Jin Jiao and the Voiles. Good vision control coming out from Snake as well. Swept the entire river, forcing them to go the long wave and run straight into a Graves hiding in the brush.
You know, Group B has been the stronger group pretty much across the board. We saw this in the cross-conference. IMA are the representatives from Group B in this matchup. But right now, Snake are just smacking them around the map.
They certainly are. You can already see Flandre. He's picked up 3 big items for himself. Has the Infinity Edge to go with that Phantom Dancer and Yomu's Ghostblade. Once Martin heads back to base, he should be able to pick up a couple of big items for himself too. But Snake looking to try and push with this Baron buff, and they have the eyes set towards the mid lane in the turret.
And again, this is where Snake's composition really thrives. It's in these siege scenarios when Jhin can open up his ultimate, where they can threaten with SOFM's Gragas.
There's a cannon barrage. Tank is forced to flash away. Jay-Z's the target of choice. Dustblade does a bit of damage towards the Taric, but the rest of Snake regroup. Now it's Baimi and Road. They find Tank. Use the pillar to try and separate him. Curtain call, locking down on towards the Vladimir. A good barrel comes out. Martin takes so much damage to the face. He'll get a double kill as he takes down the bottom lane of Snake. Now it's Tank and SOFM trying to run away. Baimi gets a big transfusion off, and Avoidance is looking to try and charge him wherever he possibly can.
They still have Onslaught of Shadows. They can look to clean this up.
But Road is dead. He goes down immediately. Tank picks up the kill. SOFM, Flandre, and Tank are looking for the 3-on-5. Avoidance goes down. Flandre's going to go over the top. Gets another kill. He's going toe-to-toe against Amazing J for the triple kill that comes out from Flandre. He is a monster on this Graves.
Flandre, where have you been? Welcome back to the LPL, my friend. But that said, that should have been IMA's fight. Snake made the core mistake. Again, their composition is so excellent when it's sieging, but again, it needs to be proactive. They need to be using the cask offensively. They need to be using the Cassiopeia ult against the anti-dive, the Taric ult, to run in proactively. When they were caught out to the side, that's where Aime's composition thrives, in those tight AoE Venn diagrams of murder. But a Voidless went in deep, and he had no follow-up.
And from that, Snake pick up a 7,000 goal lead for themselves off the back of a couple of picks, as well as a big team fight, 3-on-5 from the 3 members you just saw on your screen. And we can take a look at that again, Frostgren.
Check out Amazing J. He pretty much saves this fight and turns it very heavily in Aime's favor because he gets over the top into the backline, finds the Jhin, and assassinates him. A Voidless now comes in. This is a full health Hecarim. He has all his cooldowns. He's ready to go. This should be Aime's fight. But a Voidless is going to go way too deep after the burst damage, and he's got 0 follow-up. Again, as soon as Amazing J has the casts or the barrels laid down, that's pretty much all of his damage. He doesn't get to follow up any of his kegs, and Flandre just goes over the top and rips through Aime.
Certainly did. 3 kills coming out from Flandre there. On top of that, we saw the Miasma being put down by Tank during that fight. Forced the Hecarim to try and run around. Didn't work. Got stuck by Petrifying Gaze. Gaze coming
the petrifying gaze.
Yes, turned him into stone.
But there was no reason for Hecarim to go straight at the Cassiopeia like
Just
that.
run over them.
He was literally flanking. He's like, nope, 90-degree turn, head on.
Apparently that's what Aime are meant to do against Snake here, but they're just running straight down the line and straight through Aime. And it's off the back of this Graves that's been picked up by Flandre in the top lane. Something we normally see in the jungle, was rarely seen in the top lane back when it was in the meta. But now Snake continuing to try and push down these outer turrets. No more Baron buff, but they're trying to brute force their way into the bottom lane. The turret will eventually fall, and Snake just continue to push through.
And that's how that composition works, exactly like that. A good use of Miasma as well coming out from Tank.
There goes SON. That's aggressive. Trying to get Jin Zhao. He uses his ultimate to try and run away. Then there goes a Voidless straight into the back lines. SON's still alive. Good invulnerability coming out from Tank, as Bamey will be able to take down the jungle. It's a 1-for-none trade in favor of Aime.
It just works so much better of Voidless when you get that side flank there instead of directly running at the Cassiopeia. So again, it was an execution error on the last 5v5. They seem to have figured out the kinks. But hold on, Flandre. Get off my creeps.
Yep, he wants to find Amazing J. Amazing J wants nothing to do with the Graves, who's picked up a rapid-fire cannon for himself. That's 80% crit chance and a ton of attack speed that Flandre will have in this game.
He's just massive on this Graves. That said, both these top laners are carry-oriented top laners. Both of them got carry-oriented champions. As this game goes later and later, Amazing J certainly will get his strength back. He was feeling really good in that last 5v5. Almost turned the tides for Aime by assassinating Jhin. So Snake still need to give a lot of respect to this Aime composition, and they're not out of the woodwork yet. Yeah,
I'm taking a look at the game, the champions that Flandre plays. He has a couple of Poppy and Maokai games, but that's the only 2 tanks he has ever played.
The only other Graves top laner that we have in the LPL is actually Gimgoon. But very similar playstyles, both these top laners. Kind of explosive, kind of a question mark.
Well, I don't have any questions about this Graves. He is just walking all over people right now.
I have a question. Will he build a defensive item?
No. He doesn't need one. He's got Warlord's Bloodlust.
Wait, he sold his Dorans. What? Oh my god. Wait, to be fair, if it's a Bloodthirster, which I suspect, that's still, we're going to say that's a 0.5 defensive item. He'll survive some burst with his shield.
Watch it turn into a dust plate. Shh.
We'll keep tabs on Flandre.
We'll keep checking to see what Flandre eventually picks up, but he's going pedal to the metal right now with his item build, and Snake have one direction. They're moving straight down the track. They're running over Aime at the moment, and this is only game 1 of this series.
Aime just need to go back to their dirt biking ways. They need to be a little bit scrappy, a little bit twisty and turny. Failed the execution of their composition in the early game by not synergizing their level 6. They have incredible global 6s across the board. See if they can pick it up in the late game. They definitely have that power there. Sivir has the 3-item core for her, so in a very healthy spot. They have the Vladimir to help amplify a lot of those ricochet damage. So again, Snake aren't out of the woodwork yet. They can still possibly lose this game, but the win conditions are Aime need to get that big 5v5, and Snake need to make picks and have elongated engagements.
But even if Aime get that big 5v5, they're still up against Snake, who have 6,000 to 7,000 gold in the lead at the moment. It's a massive gold lead for them, and it'll be difficult for IMA to fight back from it.
But Snake are not great at a 5v5. In fact, they're one of the most practiced lane swap teams in the LPL to compensate for their lackluster 5v5, which they happily recognize.
They're looking for a fight, though. Road seems to be the target of choice for Snake. They separate him and obliterate him on Summoner's Rift. SOFM singles him out and delivers him to the team again.
I mean, at this point, Road has spent more time dead than alive, and is frankly just off his game, a liability for his team right now. He needs to clean this up. This is the playoff performance.
Certainly feels like it. Snake, though, looking to try and take down this Baron. Already got it to half health. JC does have his ultimate available if he chooses to use it. Tank is dead! He gets obliterated! Now the ultimate comes out from Snake, but it's not going to be enough. Everyone's just dying. It's only Flandre left alive, but Jin Zhao splashed into this pit. He somehow lives, but still, it will be Snake that end up picking up the Baron. But here comes a Voidless, finds him, runs him over. And what a big team fight coming out from IMA.
And it's only one member that survives with the Baron. The support Jay-Z makes it alive. So yes, they do get the monster objective, but that was the 5v5 that IMA were looking for, and that's what I was talking about. This AoE damage is still massive. Tank was deleted, just removed from that arena. I believe he was crit 3 times in a row.
I mean, we've seen a team fight before where Snake's opponents didn't do any damage. Look at the damage dealt during that team fight, Froskerin. There was only one member doing anything, and that was Flandre.
But will it be enough? But he wishes he had a defensive item. But here we go. Here's the replay here. Just look at Tank. Crit twice. Hello. Goodbye.
Gets knocked up by Baron as well to add insult to injury. Couldn't do anything during the entire fight.
And then at this point, Snake are just stuck inside the Beyblade arena. Welcome to hell.
And it really looked like something you mentioned at the start. Oh no, this is just brutal!
Look at how much damage he does to a Voidless, though. If he had actually just... Oh, his E was on cooldown coming over the wall. I was going to say, if he had his E cooldown, he probably would have traded 1 for 1.
But it really looked like during that Baron fight, something you mentioned at the start of Champion Select is the fact that they weren't able to use the Taric ult effectively. Didn't use it before they jumped them in the team fight. And now Snake are looking to try and take down the Elder Dragon. Jay-Z steps out of the pit trying to get a stun down. Elder Dragon picked up by Snake. A Voidless is dead. They're fighting from the back of the pit. Baimi will take down Tank. The rest of Snake trying to get the heck out of there. Finally, the Taric ult is getting used. Curtain calls obliterating people. Flandre gets a double. Will pick up the triple kill in that team fight. And Snake get an ace onto IMA.
Flandre full speed ahead. Everyone get in my backpack. I'm carrying you through finals. I am tired of finishing in 4th place. This is a performance that we have not seen all split from Flandre. I cannot emphasize this enough. He has been slumping. He has cost Snake so many games by being overly aggressive, playing at the wrong time. So for him to show up in a high-pressure situation in the quarterfinals match is massive.
And they're going to look to try and push through here. I believe Froskerin, they have the Elder Dragon, they have minions coming up as well. SOFM taking up the first turret. They take it down with ease. So now on to the Nexus. Snake very convincingly take down game number 1 of this Best of 5 series against IMA.
I mean, it feels like there are 2 versions of Snake. Either they look great and they can contest to be an elite or a dark horse to take that LPL title, or they're just completely all over the board. Snake 1 chose to show up on the day. They dug deep and Flandre carried it through.
They certainly did, and they looked like that Dracar of Froskerin. They just ran straight over IMA, except for that one occasion where a Voidless looked like the entire train himself.
Still a little bit scary, though. IMA were starting to win 5v5s on the back half of that, but again, Flandre shows up, makes those miracle plays, and carries it for Snake.
And it's again we see an interesting adaptation coming out from Snake. We saw a very unique team comp when a game didn't matter at the end of the regular split. This is a playoff game, and they've pulled out something very unique again, and it worked amazingly.
And it started in the draft phase. The fact that they flexed their jungle and top laners. Typically, we see flex between the support and top lane position, so this is actually very creative coming out of Snake, and it makes sense. Flandre and SOFM are their 2 most explosive pieces on that team, and they made sure that both of those key elements got the matchup that they wanted.
And this is just Flandre's highlight reel. Even during the team fight where IMA looked strong, he was still dealing damage, he was still picking people off.
This team fight, though, IMA 100% could have won. A Voidless chose the wrong angle to engage at. He had all of the tools available to him and just choked at the last second.
You see, he doesn't quite know where he wants to go.
There's no reason to funnel in this way. He could have just gotten the clean flank onto Flandre.
And he's dead.
Dunzo.
Yeah, I may not able to pick up the team fights early enough in that first match against Snake. Snake looked incredibly strong going into that game. And once again, a huge adaptation coming into that first match.
You do have to look at the Tarek pick, though. So again, we talk about how Tarek in the LPL really hasn't been that successful. Tarek is more about being proactive with your dives, and if you look at Snake's composition, it's great in sieging, but it's kind of a reactive comp because they have the Jhin, because they have the Cassiopeia. If they want to play anti-dive, they should look at picking up the Thresh or picking up the Bard. It would fit much cleaner in that comp.
But they do pick up the Tarek, and they still are able to pick up their Game 1 victory over Aimee. Snake looked incredibly strong to start things off. It was unorthodox to Graves pick up in the top lane, but it worked so well for Flandre, and off the back of that, they do pick up the win. But we still have a series on our hands. We'll be coming back with Game 2 in just a bit.